I am scared to go out into the protests, if I'm being honest. I am a Black person. Historically, I am more vulnerable. I'm not as scared of like the protesters as much as like what the official response will be.
The Black Lives Matter movement this year has put a big emphasis on transforming the energy from the protests into voter turnout. You know, the conversations that we're having in national politics are very different this year. We're having a lot more conversations about how we actually vote. I think it's going to have a big effect on election night. In the modern context, it's hard to make an argument that the president isn't the most powerful branch of government right now. There have been continual efforts, successful efforts by the executive to expand the power of the presidency.
Often there are feelings that people have after an election. And we saw that, 4 years ago, we saw that there were protests, and we are very much expecting something similar.
On social media, we've seen concern, I think generally, about the unknown of what might happen next week. Every single officer that's working will be in uniform and be ready to deploy wherever is needed based upon, the actions that we see. Our policy has changed to where we are not using the beanbag rounds or gas for crowd control measures.
Sometimes the police will say things, or officials will say things that directly contradict what you are seeing with your own eyes. Aside from those like very basic pandemic safety things, they actually sent 3 of our reporters to a virtual event on like how to cover a protest safely. Make sure that you have an exit strategy. Make sure that you have a way to communicate with your editor, even if it's just sending like a thumbs up emoji to let them know that you're okay. If you can go in person like a day before, they are advising us to do that. Download offline maps so that you can still navigate. If, something happens where somebody like catches on fire, they're advising us to wear like cotton because yes, it will still catch on fire, but because of the natural fiber, it'll kind of more of a protective barrier rather than something that will end up sticking on you. So what we learned there, we then ended up having like a virtual brown bag discussion with ourselves and then some of the other reporters and, photographers and videographers. They do not have the option like us reporters of staying indoors and working remote. Anytime something's happening, they are out there. They are literally the frontline workers of journalism. The story is not about journalists, but we have seen that journalists are being targeted and journalists have been taken into custody, or just you showing your credentials kind of doesn't have the same impact that it used to. I just hope that our coverage does the story justice. It's very personal to a lot of people. People are, very worried about what's going to happen. So I just hope that our coverage really encapsulates all of that and really the human aspect of it and how, Texans and citizens are feeling.